Shalom. First and foremost, I give my praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makapadash. The bonnet for the prophet is a great millstone who taught us truth and who rule well. Mighty Shalom to the brothers teaching week in and week out in the four corners of the earth, prophesying the downfall of Esau. This is what a deliverance, the hope for the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, you know, as well as the speckled bird out there likened unto the other nations. It may look like the heathen nations. Another shalom, uh, to the fellow listeners, the believers out there in the four corners of the earth. You know, like I said, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the Israelites, as well as the ones, that look like the heathen nations, but go back into the bloodline. I say shalom. Um, with this lesson, it might be a quick one, because I'm currently at work right now. But this will be a quick one because I just got done, not just got done, but I watched Elder Malcolm's video. Um, I watched this a few days ago, like either when it came out or a day after it came out, and it just made me think of the lesson. The title is, and it's gonna be "The Jig Is Up." The lies that they put out here, the lies that they tell the people that they say they're the people of the Lord, they say they're the people of the Scriptures. You know, it's false. That term white, is a farce. The names, the colors, the bywords that they give us and the other nations out here, is completely false. So we're gonna get this started. But willing, this lesson is edifying. Alrighty. So we're gonna start with this. It says McGalliontv.com. What is whiteness? How the idea of white race came to exist in America by Eden Area Gordon. All right, let's see where we're gonna start at. Okay, we're gonna start right here. These are well, we can look at this real quick. I'm not gonna read it, but you could look at it real quick. Just this area. Going into the diaspora of the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. The triangular trade. I'm pretty sure people have heard in school growing up, either elementary school, middle school, high school. They taught us, their truth about the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the triangular trade. Involving the Northern Kingdom, the Latinos and Native American Indians. You know, uh, Simultaneously as they were doing the transatlantic slave trade. Sending the Southern Kingdom, uh, Levi, Judah, and Benjamin to the Americas, where the rest of the tribes were. They were sending the Northern Kingdom, for instance, like Ephraim, uh, Gad, Reuben, Issachar, and the rest of the tribes, to the to the to a different continent, to Europe or to like different islands, like the Pacific Islands and stuff like that. When you go into the history, you can find out Ephraim, Gad, and Reuben, they got sent, to some of the parts of Caribbeans as well as like places like Hawaii and stuff like that in the Pacific, you know. So this is the part I want to start at. Said these are terrible bloodstains on our history, each involving powerful groups whom today we would describe as white, violently harming. So I could describe as white, violently harming those they saw as others. Yeah, let's start getting some pre-sales real quick. Uh, I got you. This is Revelation 6 and 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. Peace, peace was taken from the earth, from a specific person. And what did we just read? A lot of harmful and violent things are done by that race, that specific race, which is called the Edomites. but they revamp themselves, they disguise themselves as different people or different they describe themselves as someone else, you know. It says, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So that was part of his blessing. That was part of his blessing, which we're gonna get. Sword. This is Genesis 27 and 40. We start 38. It says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. So this was during the time, when Jacob finessed Esau for the blessing. You know, even though it wasn't a complete finesse, because the Lord, gave it to his mother, Rebecca, to tell him that the elder shall serve the younger. And Esau came out first, so he's the elder of the twin brothers. You know, so Esau, shall be underneath us. The Israelites. The seed of Jacob. That is for the backstory. Continuing on, it says, and Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. So that's going to be part of their blessing. They're going to be ruling, the best things of the earth, you know. And let's get that word fatness real quick. Genesis 27. They were given the fatness of the earth. Says the oil, says the stout, the vigorous, fertile spots, places. It says fertile field. It says a rich dish. So they were getting the best, of this earth, you know, getting it says the futile fields, so you look around, all the you really look around, all the vineyards and stuff like that, you know, wine companies, these I was gonna say barns, these farms, all these things Esau Edom owns as well, you know, the resources, just everything is resources. That's pretty much like the fatness of things, the best of the best, you know, while we down here, the lowness, the lowly, we get the scraps. Let's go back into that. Genesis 27 and 40. This is the point. And by thy sword shalt thou live. So this is the one, you know, this is the one in the book of Revelation that's talking about that red horse, that took peace from the earth. This is that one right here. This is that person. It says, shalt live by the sword, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother Jacob. So Esau wanted to kill, Jacob, for stealing not stealing, but finessed him out of, his birthright, to be to inherit, the blessings of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So we go back into this. It says, but despite, right here, it says, but despite this mainstream history, at least the kind that was taught to me in my own educational purpose, so like educational experience, rarely addresses racism in any meaningful way, and certainly not whiteness as a framework for understanding it. says constructions of whiteness have changed over time. It's from the New York Times. And it's true, no one really knows what whiteness is. But while there may be no clear definition of whiteness today, it's clear that its origins lie in American class conflict. It says concepts similar to race and racism have existed since time immemorial, but only as colonialism, slavery, and desperate need for cheap labor spread to the New World in 17th century. The ideas of whiteness as we know it began to take shape. Yeah, so if you go into the history more, you guys could read all of this, but this is the point. It was made in 1681. Uh, Slovakia. We're about to get busy, so I'm probably just got to make a part two. But yeah, the jig is up. The term whiteness, the that term, it was invented. It wasn't. Let me rephrase that. It was invented in 1681 because they were called different terms. They were called different terms. So like you hear that. Let's get the word white because they're trying to give the public or the people, the perception of them being righteous, them being the people of the Lord, you know, Amalek on down, you know, the J double O's, the British, you know, the Germans, the Americans, all you can think of, Spanish, they're trying to put on, a different, they're trying to quote, they're trying to put sugar on shit. It says, okay, where is this? Right here. It says the meaning, morally pure. It says honorable, fair, gracious, friendly, favorable. Yeah, so they're trying to say, that they're all these things, but look at their track record. Who took peace from the earth? Who started all this action in the Middle East? Who took over the Americas? Who took over Africa? You know, who made the Chinese, Moab and Ammon, the Japanese start wearing suits, and start wearing American clothing, you know, who did all that? Because prior to the United States, messing up Japan, they was doing the feudal thing. You go into the feudal era, that goes into the samurais and all that stuff. So who made them start doing these things? Who made these people start going away from their culture? It says virtuous, righteous, angelic, saintly, pious, honorable, reputable, when they aren't. You know, when you go into you can start. It's so many whistleblowers going out. You go on YouTube, you can find an interview. Oh, fuck it. Find an interview. You know, on whistleblowers talking about past experiences that happened. In the military and stuff like that, or what's going around in the world. What's going on in the intelligence community. Going into spies and CIAs and stuff. When everything that comes out is shameful spewing, and I could just end it off with that, because this place is through. Their lives are done for. You know, the uh, the brothers, GMS, and like affiliates, we're tearing down their strongholds. We're tearing down, their lies, that they project into the public. You know, let's get that real quick. That's the 47. We end off with that. Salakia. Probably will end up doing it part two, or maybe another Akim, but we'll see. It says This wasn't the one I wanted, but this is the precept selected. Isaiah 47:3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yes, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. So that's Yahweh Shai, not meeting, that man, that person as a man, Yahweh Shai coming in his full glory, his glory of angelic glory, God glory, to not meet, this this red horse as a man, because they pierced him when he was on the cross, you know. So he won't get back, They did a lot more things, but these things are gonna come out. This is the book of Habakkuk 2:16. It says, Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. So the cup that the Israelites are going through, these curses, these bad times, it's gonna get reversed, and the Lord's gonna hand them that cup. You know, if you read up, they gave us, they made us go off. They furthered the affliction, as you read in the 15th verse. The Lord's so it's only right that the Lord pretty much uh get back, karma. It said, let that foreskin be uncovered. Let your secrets, your secret things that you didn't want to come out, become uncovered. And it's only right. 'Cause y'all put everything else in the public. Try to hide all y'all secrets, but hey, y'all try to do it to us, but not it now. Lord's gonna do it to y'all. So Lord willing, help us bless, edify. Like to give our praise and glory to Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahushai. Ba'ashem Kakadash. Shalom, shalom.